Greetings and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and I have my co host with me.
Well, greetings and peace and many blessings on this beautiful day. It is so good to be on this side because there's so much ahead of us. And I dare say, I believe that the best is yet to come.
Absolutely, Dr. J. Yeah, it's time to get ready for our next. One of the things that we know is when you're in a race and you're about to start,
Yes.
what did we hear? Get ready,
hmm
get set, go.
Exactly. Exactly. And we have to position ourselves because the fact we are in a race. Life is a race within itself. It's inside of it's a race between decisions, purpose, destiny. All of those things makes up life, and we have to be able to discern ourselves as we go through life because there's so many different type of races. The 100-meter dash. The 300-meter dash. The high jumps and all of those things that are there. And life throws us those things inside of its own metaphorical way. And so when we're navigating life, we have to posture, we have to position ourselves. It's amazing. I still remember, trying to run track and they say, get on the mark. And you would position yourself, get ready, set, and they would say, go. But I thought about it when we slowed it down, get on the mark. That's where we start. How do we get on the mark in our lives?
Wow.
How do we get on the mark in the midst of things that are changing around us? How do we get on the mark? That mark, which is the indication, it's the place of demarcation that says, this is where I am, this is my start, but it's not my finish. And that begins with a mindset. And so when we get ready for that next, it's about posturing. It's about knowing that we have to position ourselves intentionally with purpose in mind.
Absolutely, Dr. J. And getting ready means there's some preparation that has to take
Absolutely.
place. You
Yes,
got to
yes,
start somewhere.
yes.
As you could notice, those that are following Hot Topics from the Soul, I have my shades off
Yes,
today. I have my new glare resistant
yes.
eyeglasses on. So I had preparation getting to this point. It was a long journey, almost 2 week process
Yes.
with this surgery that I had. So I had to prepare myself for this journey. And such is
Mhm.
life. We have to prepare ourselves for whatever that next is.
Right.
Sometimes our next comes unexpectedly,
Absolutely.
out of the blue. We get sideswiped, but we have to be prepared. And that means we have to position ourselves for the unimaginable, unthinkable. Life happens every day to us, and
hmm
we have to be prepared for what that next looks like in every situation and in every scenario.
You said something so important: preparation, preparing, and we understand that we're encouraged in a word that that there's a season to every purpose under the sun. So we know that there's a time, and there are certain things that we're going through. It is our time of preparation. It's our preparation season. It is when we begin to build disciplines in our lives. We begin to build disciplines and things that helps get us rooted and grounded and strengthened for what's ahead of us. And when we are in that preparation season, we develop once again not only those things, we develop habits, we develop mindsets. It is the thing that keeps us focused. It is discipline. And that's a big word there because discipline is never done. Discipline is always ongoing. As a matter of fact, Jim Rohn put it this way. He said, in life, we all will deal with one of two constant pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. But
Mm,
here's the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. And so it's a matter of, as I position myself now, I will be able to say that I was prepared. And guess what? It may have been tough at first, but the reward is great. And so now, when I'm disciplined, when I am prepared, whenever my next comes, I'm ready for it, right? Because we understand it's better to be ready and prepared without an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
absolutely. First thing is get ready. Then it says get set.
Right.
That means that we're in a position,
Yes.
getting
Yes.
ready to lunge forward
Yes.
and get to that next level. Likewise, in our minds, we have to condition our minds for what
Yes.
that next looks like. That means preparations. We need to educate our vocabulary. We need to
Mhm.
educate our mindset, our financial portfolio. We have to position our minds to even believe that there is greater to come, and not
Yeah.
only believe it, expect it.
Absolutely.
So we got to get in the position, get ready, and get set,
Yeah.
and ready to embrace the unimaginable.
You said something so powerful in getting ready. It is that preparation. It's a renewing of that mindset daily. Understand, there's so many things that are coming at us each day. We live in a world, but although we're not of the world, we live in this world. Every day we're bombarded with news stories, news articles, people's opinion. We're bombarded with those things there. But we have to renew our mind daily that we don't become, if you would, drawn into those things there that take us off of our focus, that we don't become distracted by those that may not be of like mind. And so set, when we're set, it's almost like we have to have a certain degree of spiritual blinders on, where we don't
Mm.
allow the things and the distractions from around us to come in and disturb our peace. Because when we're truly set, only thing we got to do is be able to discern when to go.
Go. That's it.
To discern when to go. Because I'm telling you, even as the metaphor of a arrow in the hands of a mighty man, we understand that that arrow is pulled back, in that bow is pulled back. And guess what? When it's pulled back, though, it is pulled back to be launched forward. And sometime in our preparation stage, there are things that we have to pull back on. There's some things that we have to pull back from. There's some places that we have to pull back from being around, because we understand that I'm preparing for my next. I'm preparing for where I'm going. And I'll always have said, I believe that where we are being called to is greater than where we're being called from. So I'm
Mm.
not going to cry about yesterday and what yesterday was. I'm preparing myself for what tomorrow will be, because I do believe, once again, that what is ahead of us is greater. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson that said these words to us. He said, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And what lies within us, if you would, is a mindset. It's a posture. It's a position of thought. It is the way that I see the world. My perspective. My perspective is enhanced. It is strengthened by my devotion, my dedication, and that which I'm feeding. So guess what? Every day we're renewing our minds. We're doing those things that are putting us in a position that we'll go forth. And when that happens, guess what? We won't look for excuses. We'll only look for, if you would, the opportunity to walk in that which we've been created for.
Absolutely, Dr. J. And let's explore some of those things that keep us from moving forward, keep us from pressing that button that says go, and go meaning to activate, to move forward.
Right,
And what that looks like is so many are consumed with fear of
right.
failure, fear of other people's opinions, fear
Yes,
of not being able to fully move forward in what they envision for themselves, fear of the
yes,
embarrassment, fear of people,
yes,
looking at them differently and calling them a failure because of the fact that
yes,
what was spoken of hadn't manifested. And we have to shut down the noise in order to move
yes.
forward. It's about shutting down the noise. You said, well, Dr. Val, that's easier said than done. And you're absolutely right. But that means that in the process, we're getting ready in the process to cancel out all the negativity. We're getting ready because, getting ready is a process, right? So we have to be ready for the unexpected. And the unexpected sometimes mean that we will fail our way to success. There's so many
Yes,
people that
absolutely.
started businesses and it didn't go all the way, but they didn't give up. They kept moving forward. They kept pressing because they saw something that was greater than who they were as an individual, as a human being. And that's what we
Yes.
have to do when it comes to life in general, regardless of what it looks like, because it's going to look bleak sometimes. And you're not always going to feel good. Let me tell you
No.
something. You're not going to be feel good all the time about the decisions we make because life be lifing, as the young people say.
Yes, it does.
And sometimes it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. But just like you go outside and you plant grass, I would say plant a garden, but not too many people are into gardening. So you can identify with grass. You put out
Yes.
some seeds for that grass to materialize and manifest. And every day that you keep watering it, you'll see little sprouts pick up and the green
Yes.
will start picking through and peeping through. And then before you know it, you have a whole lawn full of grass. And you have so much grass till you have to cut it down every now and then. That's what dreams are gonna look like. That's what moving forward, looking for the manifestation of the promise looks like. You don't see it, but you believe in the manifestation that it's going to come forth. And that's how we're going to
You know,
be ready for our next.
that is so powerful because everything that you're saying is about that moving in faith. And that's what you're saying. Being able to move in faith and in confidence. Moving in faith and confidence doesn't mean that I have already obtained, that I've already accomplished. And you said something a few minutes ago that we have to understand. We cannot allow ourselves to suffer, paralysis by analysis. We over analyze things, we over analyze things, and those things there build up the sense of fear, and then we're stuck where we are. But when we are at that place down that we're going to get our next, we've gotten beyond that on the mark, get set, get ready, get set, and now we're at go. Go is a word that commands, it's the execution of that launch. We got to move in faith. We got to move out in faith. We got to move out inside of the things that we prepared for. So guess what? We got to learn to obey without delay. Obey without delay. And what does that look like? When we obey without delay, that means guess what? Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Because what happened, we still be trying to find that comfortable spot, that sweet spot. And guess what? There are certain things that we're called to in our next that doesn't afford us a little comfortable spot. Guess what? It requires us to launch forth, and that's what's important. And then the other thing that you said that really kind of resonated with me as well, when you start talking about the fact of, not necessarily waiting on the ideal condition, but we got to move forward because we walk by faith and not by sight. Walk by faith, not by sight. Make that a priority in our life. And then the one that I know that many times we struggle because sometimes it's hard just to execute, to get started. But I'm saying that even once we've gotten started, how do we stay the course? Help me, Lord, to stay the course.
Stay the
Help me to stay
course.
the course through life's storms. They're coming. I know they're coming. You know they're coming. But stay the course. Stay the course through life's storm. And that doesn't mean that you're off track, but keep going even when the storm comes. Because these are the things, the trying of our faith, the testing of our faith, working something inside of us. But here's the part I love that as we're moving forward inside of it, that we learn to celebrate the progress. Whatever progress that we're making, celebrate. Celebrate the fact that I was able to sustain longer than I did before. Celebrate the fact that I was able to go further than I did before. Celebrate it because as you celebrate each one of those moments, what happened is that we understand that we're celebrating progress, not just perfection. Many people are stagnant because they think that that is perfection that is required before they do something. No,
Mm,
no. Celebrate the progress, and the perfection will come.
absolutely. And Dr. J, there are hundreds that are going through physical ailments in their bodies. And they're like, I don't know what my next looks like. I don't know what my next feels like because
Yeah.
I've been in this storm of this illness, this sickness, this disease for so long. And I
Mhm.
don't know how I'm going to get to the next level. But if you just stay the course, stay focused. And when I say stay focused, I mean participate in your rescue.
Right.
There's certain things that, you know, when you're going through an ailment, like people are dealing with obesity,
Right.
well, sometimes you got to push back from the table. You have to participate in that rescue. And you taking a Ozempic shot is not participating when you're sitting down eating a full course meal,
Right.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
You have to cut back, use some restraints. And there's individuals that have diseases and they've been trying different things, and there's different medications, and sometimes the medications make you sick, and then you'll explore why that medication is making you sick, and why, in the process of taking that medication, is it the right one for you? Because
Exactly.
one thing I know for sure is, like, they have one medication for one blanket thing, but it does not fit and suit everybody because everybody's body is different. Everybody has a different makeup. Everybody has different characteristics. Every vein and vessel that's in their body is different. Nobody has the same blueprints, fingerprints in their hands. So one medication is not good for everybody. So participate in your rescue. Ask questions. If you don't feel good taking that medication, let that physician know this is not working for me. What else do you have? And what are the side effects? What are the repercussions for this medication that I'm taking? We have to be proactive in order for us to see our next.
You hit it on the head. And one of the things I think that you're saying is that we have to understand that in possession of of our next, it's not going to always be found in a pill. No. It's funny that they come up with a pill and people think, well, this is a miracle pill. If I just take this pill, everything's all right. It is not about, it doesn't take much to take the pill. What you really need to strengthen is your willpower. How do I strengthen my will to be able to discipline myself, to not find myself in that refrigerator, excessively, to not find myself just giving in to anything that comes. In other words, I learned that you have to fall in love with the process. So many
Mm,
times people want to fall in love with the result, but before you can ever get to the result, you've got to learn to fall in love with the process. The process is the thing that stretches you. The process is the thing that causes you to be moved, if you would, from your place of stagnation. It is the process that causes you to have to flex and do some things that causes you to move. And that is what we so often fear. But there are two words that gets us there. Is that when we learn to be, watch this, consistent, and we learn to be persistent. If we can be consistent inside of it, we will get to where we need to. If we learn to be persistent inside of it, then we'll sustain where we're going. And so both of those things are needed. And when we begin to apply those things in our lives, not looking for an excuse, not looking to self-sabotage ourselves. There are those that are so programmed that they've had so many times of what they call failure, so many times that they have not met the mark, that literally, even when they come to play, I'm going to make up my mind, I'm going to get it right this time, they can get this close and they will self-sabotage because they are so used to having that negative result. But that goes back to what we said earlier, renewing of your mind daily. What are you feeding yourself? What are you actually nurturing yourself? Are you tilling the ground of your mind? Are you harboring negativity? Have your mind become a haven for negative talk and defeatist attitude? When we go beyond, when we allow ourselves to go beyond those things, our next is closer than what we think. Our next will look different than what we think. And that's what I'm saying. Listen, when folks are trying to hold you hostage to your past, you need to let them know, excuse me, but I have a next to catch. You got a next to catch. And when you catch your next, let me say something to you. Everything about your past no longer matters. No longer matters. And that's what I'm saying. Don't self-serve the enemy voice. Don't rehearse those things that continues to tell you how you fail. I failed. I never succeeded at this. Today is a new day. Get on the mark. Get ready. Set. Go. That's really what the message is.
Absolutely. That is the message. Get ready, get set, and go. And let's talk about finances, Dr. J. You know,
Absolutely.
insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. We say that, we don't have the money to do this and we don't have the money to do that. And then when an opportunity comes along, we're not able to take advantage of the opportunity because we've not utilized our finances in the situation that it should be used in. So we have to be conscious of the things that we're doing. Now, I have a habit.
Yeah.
Amazon, Macy's, I
Right.
have a habit. And if I'm sitting down at home and I'm watching television and something come across that screen, I'm like, let me look at this. So I have to constantly say to myself, is this a need or
Mhm.
want?
Exactly.
Is this a need or want?
Yeah.
And then I get up and I look in my closet and I be like, now I purge my closet a couple of times a year, and I give away things to individuals. And I don't have a problem with giving, and as a matter of fact, I believe that's why I'm blessed, because I give.
Right. Mhm.
But there's needs and wants, and some of our bank accounts would be a lot more stable if we didn't focus on our wants and instead of what those things are that we need, so that we can build a portfolio for our next generational family. I'm not talking about outside, I'm talking inside. Have you um, gotten life insurance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have preparations from where you're not here? Have you gotten your house in order? These are things that we must focus on. We can't just focus on today. We got to worry about our next, because
Yes.
we don't want to leave a mess for our families to clean up,
Right. Absolutely.
because we did not do what we were supposed to do while we were here getting ready and preparing. We
Mhm.
fail to follow through to the next. Make sure you have insurance. Make sure you have someone to give power of attorney to in case of.
Right.
See, these are all things of preparation for the next level of our lives. Whether we're in it or not, we must have preparation where we leave a foundation for our children and our children's children to build on.
You're so right, because the fact what we have to establish is what we really call legacy. We have to establish legacy. What does the future look like? How do we perpetuate? Now, here's the thing about it: legacy in and of itself does not mean good. Legacy is just a perpetuation of that which was. And so, if we have very negative practices, very terrible habits, neglect of a lot of things, if we don't get it right, what we're going to perpetuate is that type of legacy. But when we have been given the opportunity to get it right, when we've been given the opportunity to correct some things, we ought to be correcting it. And it does require discipline. It requires saying, do I really need that? And if I need it, do I need it now?
Mhm.
Do I really, what am I leaving? One of the scriptures always bring conviction to me that says, a good man, a blessed man, leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
And it's not limited to a man
Right. Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
it. It is a
Right.
woman. It applies to us as women too,
Right.
because there's thousands upon thousands of single parents.
Right. And the thing about what are we leaving? I want to leave more than debt. I don't want to leave them in debt. I want to leave something that the next generation can build from and have a, if you would, a perspective, an outlook that I shall, and I will. And that's the thing that we have to be very mindful of. And when we put our heads together and begin to realize something here, I'm going to leave a legacy. I'm going to be a dynasty dad. I'm going to make sure that the next will inherit something that will help them get to where they need to go.
Absolutely, Dr. J. My Foundation, the Soul of a Woman Foundation, I remember, explaining to my granddaughter Destiny what my organization was and what it did. And from 5 years old, she can tell you what the Soul of a Woman Foundation is and what it
Yeah.
represents.
Yes.
And she said, Nana, when I get old enough, I'm going to take over that company and I'm going to add to it. You deal with domestic violence, but you need to deal with this homeless situation too. That's what I'm going to add to the Soul of a Woman Foundation. I said, well, Punk, I call her Pumpkin. I said, Pumpkin, whatever you can do to make it better and to serve people. I said, I'm about serving, I'm about giving. That's what I want you to continue for me, to serve the people.
And that's the thing about it. But the foundation has been laid. She's observed. She's seen the passion. She understands that what it does. And the thing about it, how to perpetuate that on? I always say this: at the end of the day, I believe life is not lived until we left an imprint on the lives of those around us. Such an imprint on them that literally that they could be spotted a mile away simply because of the fact of what has been poured inside of them. It doesn't make them destitute or desperate, but what it does make them is determined. How do I continue to perpetuate what I have here? How do I make it better? She started talking about homeless. Look at the correlation between even domestic violence and homelessness. Then we understand in many cases almost 65% of homeless women are involved in domestic violence. They go right together, hand in hand. And so what we understand is that inside of it, what have you provided for her? Vision. She sees a way. How do I help? How do I make impact on the world? And I don't want to say to people that may think it's too late, stop it. It's not too late. Continue to be the seed, plant it now, water it now, let it grow now. Declare, determine in your mind that my age is not my cage. My age is not what's going to disqualify me. Not at all. Guess what? With age ought to come wisdom. And so let me take the wisdom that I have now and I begin to impart that like never before because I am ready for my next. And that's what we have to be determined to get ready for our next.
Absolutely. And one more thing I want to cover, Dr. J, because I want to touch every aspect of individuals' lives that, so we can, provide some kind of service, give some knowledge and wisdom to those that are listening. And there's so many that want home ownership.
Mm-hmm.
You got to prepare for your next.
Yeah.
What does that look like? That means getting your finances in order. If you're renting, make sure you pay your rent on time.
Yeah.
Start putting some money on the side. That money you would utilize to do certain things. A lot of people spend a lot of money on entertainment,
Absolutely.
thousands and thousands on entertainment. That includes eating out. Do you know to eat out for a family to spend over $100 is nothing? You go to McDonald's and a Happy Meal, doggone it, is almost $10.
Absolutely. And that is almost unheard of, but it's the truth. I mean,
Mhm.
literally, I reflect back in the day, you would say, well, how much money I need to take somebody out as a guy, and you thought you was pretty safe with $50 in your pocket. Fifty
Right,
dollars barely paid for your meal.
right.
Barely paid for yours. But yeah, so there's a whole different, if you would, landscape now that we have to be prepared for. And we have to prepare our mind. And here's the thing about it. We're not going to complain away the raising of prices. We're not going to complain away those things. So what do we have to do? We have to shift our mindset, shift our habits, shift the things that we practice, that we're now ready to meet those things where they are. Because anyone can sit back and lament about, boy, things didn't change so much. They ain't like they used to be. I remember when they used to, and that's all you have is a memory of how they used to be. But
Absolutely. And
now,
let me tell you something. These rental properties, with this price gouging with rental properties, that's going to cease. Why? Because of the fact that nobody's going to be able to afford to rent them out. All these jobs being lost, and people that are renting, and people that are being deported. These places are going to be empty. They're going to go back down to suitable monthly payments instead of all this price gouging. The housing market, I'm glad my house is valued at what it is, but even that's going to go down and make it more
Yeah,
affordable living for people so that we will be able to survive in the days coming ahead. So put your money on the side, save your money so that you will be prepared for your next property, and stop trying to get the next car. You got to have a BMW, you got to have an electric car and all this. You need to be able to get from one place to another. Stop getting things where you're living beyond your needs, where you can't even afford to keep it, and then if it breaks down you can't even afford to fix it, because that to get an oil change in a foreign car costs more than your car payment every month, and you can't afford it because you're on a tight budget. We gotta get back to basics. Start thinking of it. One of the things I can say about immigrants that come here, they all will pile together in one home and make it work, save their money, compile it together, and they buy properties. We don't really get anything because we spend all our money trying to look flashy and look good instead of
exactly.
investing in it so we can have things for tomorrow. This is what we have to get back to as Americans. We have to prepare for the next. Are you ready? Are you ready for the next level? Because like I said, okay, this is our season. This
Yeah,
is our time. This is our preparation for us to get to that next level so that we will all reign and be wealthy. It's time to move to the wealthy place.
absolutely. And guess what? Give ourselves permission to get there.
Absolutely. I forgot about that, Dr. J. That's why we rolled together. We have to
Absolutely.
give ourselves permission and know that we entitled and we deserve it. We've
Absolutely.
laid foundations. We've paid a price to be who we are. So why not walk in it?
Absolutely. And that's what we're doing. I speak to my next, and I want my next to know that I'm on my way.
Absolutely. So, those of you that are tuning in, we thank you so much for joining another hot topic from the
Yeah,
soul. And please,
yeah. Hot topics from the soul, reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Yeah, hot topics from the
also, we will see
soul.
you
Yeah,
next week,
hot topics
same
from the
time,
soul.
hot topics
Yeah,
from the
hot
soul. And
topics from
don't
the
forget to
soul,
subscribe.
reaching all minds, turning knowledge into
Don't forget
gold.
to subscribe to Hot
Hot
Topics
topics from the
from the Soul.
soul. Hot
Thank you
topics from
and
the
good night.
soul. Yeah, yeah. Hot topics from the soul.